I'm SpongeBob SquarePants. My pet snail Gary and I live in one of these tropical fruits in Bikini Bottom.
Patrick?
What is a pineapple?
That's it.
2024 has been packed with many lost media finds. But only a few stand out as much as our first solved piece of lost media. The show Jeopardy needs no introduction. The series is a beloved American quiz show created by Merv Griffin. The show has become a staple of American television, with over 9,000 episodes across 40 seasons. Throughout its long run, the series has featured various themed events, including teen tournaments, celebrity weeks, and kids' weeks. These various themed events occurred sporadically and were done to attract viewers of all ages. One of the more interesting periods in Jeopardy history was in early January of 2003, when a special event called Holiday Kids Week took place. This week-long series featured young contestants aged 10 to 12 years old, with each episode made specifically for a younger audience. The episodes were taped in November of 2002 and included categories and clues that were directly tied to children's pop culture. Games, celebrities, and popular television series were all fair game. In January of 2003, during the Holiday Kids Week, an episode aired that became iconic for its inclusion of Nickelodeon-themed content. This episode, cataloged as Episode 4229, featured 3 young contestants. The kid contestants were Francis Musella, Allison McDonough, and Patrick DeRocher. But what truly set this episode apart was a category featured in the Double Jeopardy round. In this round, the focus was entirely on Nickelodeon franchises including Blue's Clues, Rugrats, and Rocket Power. But the highlight of the category was undoubtedly a clue involving Nickelodeon's most famous character, SpongeBob SquarePants. That also happens to be the piece of formerly lost media. SpongeBob himself appeared on screen to introduce the category. Voiced by Tom Kenny, SpongeBob was animated specifically for this segment. This was for many years a piece of animation long lost. For the $1,200 clue, SpongeBob said the following prompt in the episode. The clue is now on the screen, and as said before, it was narrated by Tom Kenny. Patrick, one of the contestants, responded correctly with "What is a pineapple?" This answer secured his already impressive lead, which he maintained throughout the episode. By the end of the show, Patrick had won with an impressive 29,000, while Francis took second place with 24,000, and Allison finished in third place with 10,000. Despite the content of this episode, it quickly fell into obscurity following its initial broadcast. The entire Holiday Kids Week block, including this particular episode, became somewhat elusive, especially considering how many Jeopardy episodes have aired over the decades. However, the Nickelodeon category, and more specifically the SpongeBob clue, began to attract attention from fans and researchers who were eager to find it. The first glimpse of this episode to appear online was in a YouTube video uploaded by a user in April of 2018. This video featured the Blue's Clues themed answer from the Nickelodeon category but lacked the SpongeBob animation. Questions lingered over whether the SpongeBob clue was real or merely a misremembered detail. However, the Blue's Clues appearance did reaffirm that the SpongeBob clue was likely not a hoax. Fast forward to July of 2023, a Lost Media Wiki user brought up the episode again. The user mentioned the SpongeBob clue but with no solid proof to back up the claim. Then, in July of this year, an Internet Archive user named Sambonzi uploaded the complete episode, finally confirming the animated SpongeBob clue's existence. Considering that it featured a piece of lost SpongeBob animation about 2 decades old, it remains one of my personal favorites. The jagged animation featured in the short also feels somewhat uncanny. The vibe it gives is something you would find in a random education game. Anyways, before we go to the next piece of lost media, it would help me out immensely if you subscribed. In order to understand Poe Eye Doctor, we first need to talk about its inspiration, Poe. Poe was a highly popular virtual pet game developed by Zaka Limited and released in 2012. The game allowed players to care for a brown, triangular-shaped alien named Poe, feeding it, playing with it, and keeping it clean. Poe became a massive hit, especially among younger audiences, with its simple yet addictive gameplay. But with great popularity often comes imitation, and that's where Po-I Doctor comes into play. Po-I Doctor was an Android mobile game released around 2013 by an independent developer named Bilano Peter. Unlike Po, which focused on caring for your alien pet in a general sense, Po-I Doctor took a very different approach. The game functioned similarly to many health-caring flash games that were popular at the time, but with one key difference: the patient was a poorly made version of Po, complete with eyeglasses. The game revolved around taking care of Po's eyes, likely in a series of mini-games or tasks, although the exact details of the gameplay were unclear for years. Despite its dubious quality, Po-I Doctor managed to amass over 500,000 downloads on Google Play before it was suddenly removed. The reasons for its removal remain unconfirmed, but it's widely believed that Saka Limited, the developers of the original Po, took action to remove games that infringed on their intellectual property. This wouldn't be surprising, given the sheer number of Po knockoffs and rip-offs that flooded the market during that time. After all, Po was a lucrative brand, and any unlicensed use of its character could potentially damage its reputation or lead to lost revenue. After its removal, Po-I Doctor essentially disappeared without a trace. There was no gameplay footage available online, and the game's APK file was nowhere to be found. For those wondering, the APK file refers to the file that allows Android apps to be installed. The only remnants of the game were 3 screenshots that had been preserved on the Wayback Machine. The Wayback Machine also had a preserved link to the game's Google Play page, but the download button was unclickable, leaving potential players frustrated. In addition, the email address of the game's creator, Bilano Peter, was linked on the Wayback Machine, but reaching out to him yielded no results. Interestingly, there's a flash game titled Po Wearing Glasses that uses the same assets and gameplay as Po-I Doctor. But it's important to note that the game was made by another developer named Jokuri Kids. This led some to wonder if the two games were connected in some way, or if Po Wearing Glasses was simply another knockoff using the same stolen assets. Either way, it didn't bring us any closer to finding the original Po-I Doctor game. For nearly a decade, Po-I Doctor was considered lost, with no known copies of the game available to the public. But in July of this year, everything changed. A user by the name of CubeFun managed to find the game's APK file and uploaded it to Mediafire, a popular file-sharing website. This was a significant moment for lost media enthusiasts, as it marked the end of a nearly 10-year search for this obscure mobile game. This piece of found media was also overshadowed somewhat by Charlie the Steak, which due to its huge coverage I decided to not cover. But now that you have made it to the end, keep on the streak and binge on.